With a subject such as video games made me love life more, one would think that a segment about the worlds found within video games would not make me love life more. In fact, it would make me love video games more than life. And normally you'd be right. There are a number of different worlds and universes I'd love to live in other than this one that we're currently inhabiting. For as much danger as I'd be in, living in the world of Persona I feel would be fun, depending on the entry. My first choice would be Persona 4, followed by 5, and then 3, and those who don't understand, you will. The world of Metal Wolf Chaos is a little too ridiculous to properly take seriously, especially in politics. Same with the version of Kabukicho, named Kamurocho, seen within the Yakuza games. There are so many different types of places I'd love to live in, even if it's for a short while. But there's something one must take into account when thinking about this. If you really, truly lived in that world you wish to live in, would you have your favorite things? Would the things you hold near and dear still be there in this new world? To quote YouTube individual CJTheX,
if I lived in the Pokemon world, I wouldn't have any rap music. Any of the rap music I like, all gone. Your favorite movie, gone. Your mom, gone. Also, not for nothing, our society would be based on the exploitation of animals en masse. Fuck, that is our reality.
The best worlds, not just in video games, but in fiction as a whole, make you remember that your current world, the one you inhabit, that's pretty cool too. And it's ironic that their first example is Pokemon, because it's the first example of one game world that makes me appreciate what I have. Funny how that works, huh? In May of 2017, I went on a 4-day trip with my mom, sister, and grandma to Hawaii, specifically the island of Maui. This trip was not planned far ahead, as it was one made in secret away from family members who would probably make things more stressful for everyone. It was the first time in many years I'd ever leave the comfort of my home state, and it was several thousands of miles away and 3 hours in the past. It was humid, but not uncomfortably so. There were spaces to just stand and enjoy the scenery, look upon nature still untouched by man, absorb the sounds of crashing waves and the blowing wind. This trip was unfortunately quite stressful for me. Though I cannot properly explain how this happened, my mind during that trip was stuck in a mode where I was not doing anything of value. Therefore, I'm wasting my time and should be doing something. I was unable to really relax until, funnily enough, the last day we were able to go out and do things before packing. It was a trip I regret not being able to properly enjoy unless I was on my own, listening to music as the wind howled, and I felt some kind of inner peace within me. The funniest part of feeling this way is that I don't think I've ever properly figured out how to get out of this particular mindset. At least, not until playing Pokemon Ultra Moon. Before properly talking about it, I would just like to say that I've played essentially one of every game from each generation except Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and I can safely say that based on their quality upon release and fan reaction, the 7th generation with Sun, Moon, and the Ultra games were the most unfairly treated, although I'm pretty sure that the general perception has changed since release. Anyway, allow me to wax poetic, paint a picture, if you will, about the Hawaii-esque locale of Alola. I played Ultra Moon a short while after it came out, sometime in late 2018 or early 2019. It was a game I felt myself getting absorbed into for the first time in a few years at that point. I discovered my still ongoing love for Beware, the strong arm Pokemon, and its golden yellow shiny form, as well as my love for Primarina, Togedemaru, Dusk form Lycanroc, Alolan Raichu, and Kommo-o. I felt myself learning to appreciate the region that needed to be taken in slowly. Allow yourself to be carried by the cool ocean winds. Let the scent of the sea calm your nerves. And also allow the locals to protest the somewhat corrupt local government, even if it's ineffective at best and obstructive at worst. The sights, sounds, and digital smells of Alola allowed me to appreciate what I missed on the island of Maui. While I was feeling anxiety about needing to work on something in order to be feeling like I'm not wasting my time, I could have been absorbing the scenery, feeling the bright, hot sun starting to burn my pale skin, letting the general atmosphere of the island lull me into a sense of comfort. My mental barrier was just too strong, I'm afraid, and it took a video game played on a handheld device for me to really realize this. As it seems plenty obvious to most people based on how I speak, how I act, my general attitude towards things and situations, as well as that anecdote about coming across a vendor of various goods in San Francisco. I hail from the greater Bay Area, having been born and raised here. Despite this, I've explored, at most, maybe 75% of the entirety of San Francisco. It's a huge city that strives to get bigger and bigger. However, I feel a connection to this city that other locals probably feel as well. I've seen so many sights that tourists only get to experience once or twice, like Golden Gate Park, the series of streets you pass by that you realize are in alphabetical order, the large bow and arrow sculpture by the bay itself, Lombard Street, Fisherman's Wharf, all these unique locales that are just hard to replicate. Only game to properly capture the feel of San Francisco without just scanning the city and putting it into a video game, I feel, is 2064 Read-Only Memories. For the uninitiated, 2064 is a point-and-click adventure game set in the titular year of 2064, where multiple technological breakthroughs allow for society to change and morph into something familiar, but not too familiar. The internet has fallen away to make way for the meshnet, a wholly virtual internet space that no longer requires physical cables. Cybernetic enhancements and gene splicing allows people to have the bodies that they've always wanted or recover from illnesses once thought incurable. And relationship organizational managers, or ROMs, make normal everyday life easier for the citizens of Neo San Francisco. But as humans change and evolve, so does intolerance, prejudice, and hatred, with the nationwide group The Human Revolution viewing cybernetic augmentations and gene splicing to be diluting the human experience, seeking to dial back the amount of gene splicing cyborg augments people can get to probably zero, adopting a slippery slope mentality many modern day groups that are anti-progressive follow as well. There's a lot that I can talk about in regards to this game, the politics found within about not just enhancing the self, but also the ethics of giving machines real human-like intelligence, the dangers of automated vehicles, the need to strengthen security for things that are connected through an entirely virtual form of the internet, and so much more. But what I want to focus on is the spirit of San Francisco that has been recaptured in this Neo form. Despite the game taking place about 41 years into a fictional cyberpunk future, it's not all Blade Runner and 2077. It still feels like a modern day San Francisco with just a few more pieces of technology that are brand new in places, like cars that hover above the streets and ROMs working alongside humans, whether it's in a cafe on Market Street or in the local police station. Depending on where you look in the game, Neo San Francisco is seen as still a haven for queers, still a gentrified wonderland made for rich people who don't actually appreciate the city, still corporate and clean, and still so full of anger and love and passion for the city and those living in it. You meet all these people who are either corporate slime buckets, locals who moved in like a year ago who don't totally get the vibe of the city, locals who moved in years ago who understand what's at stake and what's worth fighting for, and locals who have lived here their whole lives and will fight tooth and claw for the right thing, even if it costs them their lives, because making life easier for others that are underprivileged and disenfranchised means more to them than their own happiness and safety. This game not only takes place in San Francisco, it's properly captured the spirit of the city and the people within. It makes me appreciate the people who have lived in this city and surrounding Bay Area so much more. Everyone has their own story, and while they may not ever be told, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. There's a video I made from my series of top 50 favorite games where I wax slightly poetically, more like a book report, about Dragon Quest IX and how exploring the world as you, the character you create and you customize to your liking, is unparalleled compared to any other create a character game. That exploring a world as you and reliving moments like exploring the forest near your hometown or finding odds and ends out in the world could not be compared to things like the Elder Scrolls or Fallout. I still feel this way, no doubt. However, I also said that it's the best Dragon Quest game, though Dragon Quest XI could top it. I'm here to say, a year and a half later, that this is definitely the case. I have so many words to say about Dragon Quest XI, which I will save for later on in this project. For now, I will speak a decent amount of words about the world of Erdrea and how comfortable and cozy and lived in it feels. In Dragon Quest XI, you play as a young man prophesized to be a hero, as the reincarnation of the Luminary from many years ago, a man named Erdwin, who also had the title of Erdrick, or Lodo in the Japanese versions of Dragon Quest. It's up to you and your growing party to stop whatever evil encroaches upon the land of Erdrea, even if said evil takes its sweet time actually doing the job of encroaching upon the hero. But the world of Erdrea itself is altogether unique, familiar, inviting, lived in, homely, and cozy. Every town and city you come across is so lovingly designed to be as gorgeous to look at as it is fun to walk through. It feels like they're recreations of actual places the map designers visited or lived in. Every home has the appropriate number of chairs and beds for the NPCs who can be seen inside or right outside. Restaurants have the correct number of place settings. All the NPCs that aren't just standing there waiting to be talked to are performing their own little scheduled tasks. All the food you can encounter looks incredibly delicious, if impossible to eat, and various NPCs are connected to each other even if they're many miles away. For instance, there is a side quest with a man named Hakim, who became the guard of a checkpoint between Gallopolis and Gondolia, who wants to know how his sister Akia is doing, as he's been sending her money to pursue her dream career in Gondolia. In Gondolia, you find out Akia unfortunately could not pursue her dream, and has been using the money for other still good at heart purposes, but not for reasons her brother sent the money for. Afterwards, you're asked by Akia to deliver a letter to her and Hakim's father, Valentino, in Puerto Valor. I won't spoil the end result of this questline, but I will say that the mere act of just saying a random person in one town knows a different person in a different town, and that they regularly communicate, adds so much life to a normal fantasy setting that was already bursting at the seams with life. It feels as though this large world with so many new, unfamiliar faces all know each other. It's a genuinely beautiful way to express just how much care has been put into the world building. I mentioned that this section is supposed to be about the game worlds that make me appreciate the world I inhabit more, and it does! Erdrea, for as lived in and comfortable as it is, makes me appreciate my own world, and to truly discover what that actually means, I must discuss this and other games in excruciating detail.